Hi sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, smash that subscribe button, turn your notification so you are notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all so much, and I'm saying a very big shout out to every one of you for the support you all shower me here with. I am grateful, and you all are super sweet. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about a video that is circulating online. People calling black people out for being hypocrites, for not coming out to protect for a boy. I mean, there is this, I think he's 17 years old or something, who was jumped by about 15 kids, and they beat him to coma, and eventually the young man died. Sincerely speaking, I am condemning what those kids did, because that was a horrible thing to do, right? And a lot of people are saying, why are black people not marching? And I am saying that black people march when something affects them in their own community. You also do not expect them to come and march for you. If something happens in your own community, it is your responsibility to come out to march. Do not expect black people to come out to march for you. And some anti-black people really actually think it is a good opportunity, because it's actually a good opportunity for them to also call black people out. But then before I get into this video, I am going to say that as a parent, you are supposed to speak to your child, speak to your children about the consequences of their actions. As you can see, if they happen to be 15 kids or 15 boys, trust me, about 15 families are being affected by this. Why? Because they are saying that this case will not be treated. They will not treat them as kids. It will be treated as an adult case, because it got to do with mer and der.
Jonathan Lewis was a 17-year-old child, a white child that was beaten to death by 15 black kids. And the reason I'm bringing the race into this is because every time the role is reversed, the race is brought up. And every time the role is reversed, their stories are shared. There are candlelight vigils, there are hashtag that kid's name, there are protests, there are everything. But when Jonathan Lewis lost his life doing something honorable, protecting one of his friends, nobody seems to care. There's no hashtag Jonathan Lewis. There's no justice for Jonathan. There's no marching in the streets. People just moved on like any other day of their life. But I know damn well if he had been an African-American child beaten by 15 white kids, you would not be able to escape this story. And that's what's so heartbreaking, because liberal media is so manipulative with what stories they share, because it needs to fit the agenda they are trying to preach. And it's disgusting, because look at, for instance, how the George Floyd situation was handled versus this child. That was a grown man who had made some mistakes, who did not deserve to die, so do not twist my words. But he was treated as some sort of savior after his death. There are portraits of him painted. Murals of him, all of this stuff. This was an innocent child who had not had a chance to live his life yet, and nobody seems to give a fuck. Could you imagine getting that call as a parent that your child was beaten to within inches of their life? You watch the video of what happened to them, but there's not a goddamn thing you can do to protect them because it's already done. Parents should not have to worry about sending their kids to school, right? That should be a safe place. I want to know why nobody stepped in, why no one defended him, why no one helped him, and why nobody is talking about it. Because once again, if the roles had been reversed, this story would be all over the news. Justice for Jonathan Lewis.
Trent Allen, is this you? All right, let's get it. Now, exactly what media are you talking about that is not covering the tragic death of 17-year-old Jonathan Lewis? Now, I know reading and following national news are not your strong suits, but where did you get the idea that everybody who jumped him was black? Yeah, because none of those articles mention that. And let's take a look at what the sheriff's department that made 8 arrests in the case already had to say about it, and if it qualified as a hate crime.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jason Johansson, the Homicide Lieutenant with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. My goal here today is to provide you a brief overview of the initial investigation when we responded up until the point of the arrest of the 8 subjects today during our operation. Let me start off with our response. On November 1st of 2023, the Clark County School District Police Department, they responded to a report of a battery as a result of a fight. Initially, it came out at Rancho High School. Very quickly, in the initial preliminary investigation, it was determined that the actual fight occurred in the alleyway at 1308 21st Street, which, as you can see on the map to my left, is directly east of Rancho High School in close proximity. And it was learned that this fight occurred right after school had let out at Rancho High School, and it is believed that all members that were involved in this incident, whether it be as witnesses, suspects, and victims, were attendees of Rancho High School. We also learned that how the victim ended up back at Rancho was that after the fight occurred, he was laying unconscious and unresponsive in the back alley, and a citizen nearby saw him, began attending to him, and carried him back to Rancho High School, which is what prompted the initial 911 phone calls related to this incident. Following medical's response, he was transported to UMC, where very early on in the investigation it was determined that Mr. Lewis had sustained non-survivable head trauma, and that was when the homicide section responded, and we took over this investigation due to the extent of his injuries. As you know, the video that has been shared widely on social media, which I'm not going to show today, but many people have seen it, is very graphic, and in my opinion is very void of humanity. What you see in the video, though, is approximately 10 subjects kicking, stomping, and punching our victim, Jonathan, as he's on the ground, not defending himself, and to the point where he becomes unconscious. During our investigation, we quickly learned that the fight was actually over a pair of stolen wireless headphones and possibly over a stolen marijuana vape pen from incidents that occurred earlier in the week, and that as a result of those stolen items, which were taken from the victim or the victim's friends, they had agreed to fight with several of the subjects in the back alley where the fight occurred. After school let out, all parties then walked to that back alley where, as you see in the video, our victim removes his clothing, engages in a fight initially with one subject, and the minute the punch is thrown with that person, 10 subjects immediately swarm him, put him into the ground, and begin kicking, punching, and stomping on him. Over the course of this investigation and in close coordination with Clark County School District Police Department and Rancho High School administrators, we were able to quickly identify many of the subjects involved in the fight from the video that was taken and shared off of social media. As a result, we have identified approximately 10 subjects that were involved in the murder. 8 of those subjects we have been able to positively identify. On November 7th...
Trent, I have more of that for you, but before I get to that, I want to say that it's kind of telling that you didn't even bother to put a picture of Jonathan Lewis in that video, because you don't really care about Jonathan Lewis. What you wanted to get to was your talking point about if the roles were reversed, where it may pain you to know that not everyone that attacked him was black, but the black children, like you are doing, will be the focus of the narrative. Let's take a look and see what the investigator had to say when he was asked if this is a hate crime.
You said that this was a highly emotional video. This video is taking on national attention. One of the questions that folks nationally are asking is whether or not this was a hate crime. Is this the case? If not, what factors lead to that determination?
To me, you have to follow the evidence. And the only thing I'll say to that is there is no evidence at this time that this is a hate crime. And one thing I can assure you is if this was a hate crime, there would be someone getting arrested for charges related to it being a hate crime. Right now, I have no evidence at all that this is a hate crime. It is a murder, which in my opinion is a very heinous crime in and of itself, but I do not have evidence of a hate crime.
Can you
Now, before you all go reversing these roles, which you all are prone to do whenever you think it fits your narrative, maybe you should follow through and do some research so you don't wind up looking like fools when the narrative doesn't reverse. And if you would like to see the rest of that news conference, let me know. And if you would like to see this video, I tried posting it and, TikTok wasn't having it. I'll post it on my Instagram page if you would like to see it. Just let me know. Trent, have the day you deserve. One more thing before I go. Since you care so much about a hashtag for Jonathan Lewis, why don't you start one?
I just finished watching a 10-minute video from the Las Vegas Metropolitan PD about the murder of Jonathan Lewis. His death is at the hands of 10 individuals in the range of 13 years old to 17-year-old. His murder is very unsettling. And as an educator, I've said on my page many, many times that parents need to have conversations with their children about real-life consequences for actions that they may perceive as childlike. The criminal justice system in this country very rarely sees children as children in circumstances like this, that the circumstances result in the murder of someone else. They are very commonly seen as adults, and according to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, they are going to seek that the court view these these boys as adults, and to be charged with murder as adults. As an educator, I must say again, I am not here to indoctrinate your kids. I'm here to educate them. And when we as parents fail to have conversations with our children about their behavior and how they have real life consequences, that leaves the door open for others to have those conversations with them. Those conversations can occur voluntarily or involuntarily. As an educator in the classroom, I find myself in the involuntary position to have conversations with kids because I am addressing behaviors that should be addressed at home, that should be taught at home, yet there is a lack thereof. So I'm not here to indoctrinate your kids. Unfortunately, I've been tasked to do the job of absentee parents, what have you. These 8 boys, ranging from the ages of 13 to 17, in my opinion, did so not understanding that this action, this murder of Jonathan Lewis, has a real life and long-term consequence. And if convicted, will spend the rest of their lives in a criminal justice system that is known for prisoner abuse, for treating prisoners less as human. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be the case or that should be the case. I'm saying what is the case. Parents, it is important that you are talking to your children every day for whatever reason, for however many times, telling them the criminal justice system will eat you up and spit you out, whether you're 13 or 30. They are now on the hook for murder as adults because somebody missed conversations. And it all starts at home. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Child's first teacher is their parent. And those conversations need to be happening at home. The fact that they're not happening, and now we have 8 boys on the hook for murder, is very telling. We now have 9 families that are forever changed because of this. Good morning. I just finished watching.
I'm well aware that you guys wanted me to make a video on the 17-year-old boy in Las Vegas that was beat up by a bunch of black kids, 15 total. But the reason why I waited is because I wanted to see if BLM would say something. I wanted to see what other black creators had to say about this. I wanted to see what black entertainment television had to say about this. I wanted to see what Ben Crump had to say about this. Because if it was a black child that was beat up by 15 white kids and died, I guarantee, bare minimum, it would be BLM marching. Well, to answer your question, I didn't receive shit. I didn't hear anything about this other than people tagging me. So, here's the story. Rest in peace to Jonathan. He did not deserve that, especially when I found out why he was being jumped.
So people don't just say, well, okay, what was he doing? Could he be a white supremacist? Let me read you a quick, this is from News 18 local news. November 1st, over 15 juveniles brutally attacked 17-year-old Jonathan Lewis near Rancho High School after he sought to defend a younger friend who had been robbed by the group.
Not only did these fucking animals decide to rob another individual, but when Jonathan steps up and says, I don't want you to hurt my friend, give him his stuff back, they whoop his ass to death. Black community is out of fucking control. This is the type of shit that's being bred in these low-ass communities. These burners, these looters, these robbers, these stealers, they're all them. Starting in school. Not only do these little fucks need to be charged, but the parents do too. Why is it that there's always got to be 15 on one? There's black fighters all over the place. Why do you need 15 fucking people? Where's his protest? Where's his march? The black community's going to stay silent about this shit. Well, no, I'm not going to let them stay silent. Because if this was a black kid, shit would be much fucking different. You wouldn't be able to hear the end of it. So don't just sweep this under the rug. Treat this like every other last one of them. Say his name, Jonathan Lewis.
This is Jonathan Lewis Jr. He was brutally attacked by 15 black children. Kicked, punched, stomped on. And for what? For defending his friend, because those same 15 kids stole a vape pen and AirPods from his friend. And like a good friend, Jonathan wanted to defend his friend. Little did he know that he would lose his life, unfortunately. As we know, there have been 8 arrests, but that's not enough. There were 15 children involved, including the person filming. It was later found that he suffered from blunt force trauma to the head. Every last one of those kids are murderers. They need to be tried as adults. Jonathan Lewis Jr. lost his life for defending his friend from being stolen from by animals. I truly never understood the meaning of jumping somebody. You guys sit there and say that you're so tough, but can never fight one-on-one. And the black community has given me hell over this.
Oh, keep that same energy when the next person is black.
They do. They riot, they loot, they burn. But look at us. We're going about it the right way. We're getting justice the right way. You don't see us burning down Targets. You don't see us looting Gucci stores. But we are going to get that justice. My question is for the police. Why the fuck did it take so long for you guys to complete this investigation just to get 8 arrests and not the rest? I bet you if this was a black child, you guys would have DNA inputs on every little detail on what person was there, who was standing around, who was filming, everything, because the media would demand so. It happened on November 1st, and it is now November 15th. And we're barely hearing shit about it. Rest in peace to Jonathan Lewis Jr. Say his name again and again and again. Jonathan Lewis Jr.
This is 17-year-old Jonathan Lewis. If you haven't heard about him yet, I'm not surprised. Jonathan Lewis lives in Nevada. He has a younger friend. That younger friend was stolen from and thrown into a trash can by a group of 15 boys. So he stood up for his younger friend, and the 15 boys beat him to death for it. He was found on November 1st, and he died from his injuries on November 7th. His father sat in the hospital with him while he was on life support for 6 days. He's asking for justice. My question would be for the media that's barely covered this at all. Why aren't y'all calling this a hate crime? Now, I think making this situation about race takes away the accountability from each of the individual criminals that did this. But the hypocrisy is astounding. Because if this was 15 white boys brutally beating a single black boy to death, there'd already be marches in the streets, and Joe Biden would have been sent that family flowers. Look at every headline of a black man who was unjustly assaulted by just one white man. Black man this, white man that. Black man jumped by white men. Black man, white man. Look at the very popular Montgomery brawl. That black man was getting jumped by those racist white men, even though we can't prove that they were actually racist. And then all of those other black men jumped in. Yeah, black power, black excellence. You would never see that with this. And this is the issue. Because when you make all of those other situations about race, especially when they don't need to be, you do an incredible disservice to situations like this. Because now people are asking valid questions like, well, why aren't we talking about the race right now? Instead of asking why 15 boys, regardless of race, decided to brutally murder a single boy, regardless of race, in broad daylight. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what walk of life you from. This is absolutely heartbreaking. And the way the media likes to cherry pick their hate crime narrative is absolutely unacceptable. So he stood up for his younger friend, and the 15 boys beat him to death for it.
We're talking about Jonathan Lewis. I did a duet just a moment ago because the young man who pointed out some very salient issues I thought was worth reposting and seeing my reaction to it. However, I couldn't look at all the video of them beating this young man to death. But I'm reminded again of several videos I have done recently about the anger that is in this generation of folk. And I find it despicable and disgraceful. And as I watched the parts of the video that I did, these kids, they could join in on the fighting, but they couldn't join in to break it up. These kids, and I'm going to say it is a reflection of the parents or those who are not parenting. Because like I said months ago, when that female was in that bowling alley and everybody was saying, well, this, that, and the other. And I said, because I know my child. I knew my child. And every time she tried to tell me something about what somebody else did, I asked her what she did because I knew my kid. So these parents are going to be crying for those boys who go into prison, as they should, and be braiding hair. They're going to be crying and saying, my baby was a good boy. The hell he was. And he did it right under your nose. He did it right under your nose. And that young man is absolutely right. If it was reversed, if there were 8 to 15 white boys beating to death a young black boy, we'd be marching in the streets. I'm disgusted. I'm going to tell you, I done told you. Yes, I'm black, proud to be black, but I don't co-sign on the strength of I'm black. If somebody's wrong, they're wrong. And this is wrong. And what's interesting, if what the young man stated is true, Jonathan did for his friend who was bullied and stole from and dumped in a trash can, he did what nobody did for him. He stood up for somebody. He broke it up. He stood up. And then, from what I've read, he was going to go 1-to-1 and fight to stand up for his friend, and these coward-ass boys who happen to be black beat that boy to death. Punks, cowards. I said it and I mean it. And then, you know what? I take that back, because who I blame? The parents. And I'm telling you why I blame them. Because even if they act like the greatest kids, I'm willing to bet a couple of things. I'm willing to bet that they allow their sons to listen to this crazy murder, sex, degenerate music. I'm willing to bet they have no accountability, and I'm willing to bet that most of their parents just as ratchet as they are. I said it and mean it. And that's why I'm so glad I am in the midst of my G-babies, because I will not have them surrounded by monsters like that, no matter what color they are. No matter what color they are, because they are monsters. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired of all this stuff that's happening. The usual suspects are black and brown. I said it. The usual suspects now are black and brown. And before you say, well, auntie, you don't know, they just showing it. There are white people that do stuff too. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. But what I'm seeing more often than not, even the stuff that's not reported on the news, I'm seeing black and brown people doing it. I'm disgusted by it. And I'm disgusted by it because our forefathers didn't fight for this. They fought against this so we would be able to live without fear of violence. And for every newscast or broadcast that highlights some atrocity being done to black people by white folks, there are thousands of black on black issues that are not broadcast, that are black on brown, vice versa. So I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it. And it's a sad state of affairs. And I'm going to be honest, I'm more afraid of those who look like me than don't. That's a sad state of affairs. But that's where we are. That's where we are. And these kids who are being raised by music, murder music, because I'm going to broadcast it. I've seen several parents or teachers who's supposed to be teaching put on the internets toddlers singing sexy red sukiyaki music. I've seen several. Now you got this gangster birthday party for a child, a boy with guns and money. I bet he can't even freaking read. And you got a black boy who's given a piece of paper, who's 9 years old, can't even read it, but he sure can cuss, and who's videotaping it. Grown folks laughing. You disgust me. Because the sad part about it, whether you ignorant individuals know it or not, there would have been a time, and not so distant of time, that you could have been killed for reading, for showing that you could. And now you don't even want to. And this one action alone, and those like it, give people pause, so when they see people like me, they wondering, are you like that? And that's why they walk it up, because of stuff like this. Yeah. I'm disgusted. I'm fighting back the tears because this young man did for his friend. And I don't know what the color of the friend, don't care. Did for his friend what nobody did for him. This is he had integrity. He stood for something and died for it. And I hope every last one of them, I don't give a damn how, every last one of them goes to prison for the rest of their damn lives. You're going to learn today. Take that with you.
This teenager was savagely beaten to death by a mob of 15 bullies after he tried to protect his friend. 17-year-old Jonathan Lewis from Las Vegas courageously stood up for his smaller friend after he had something stolen from him and was thrown into a trash can by the bullies. And soon after Jonathan confronted the bullies, they began punching him and swarmed him from all angles, hitting him, and when he laid defenseless on the ground, they repeatedly kicked him in the head. And soon after, one of Jonathan's friends tries to come to his help and pull the 15 kids away as they're giving harsh blows to the back of his skull. But then 5 of the bullies turn their attention to him and start punching and kicking him until he falls to the ground as well. And following the attack, officers found Jonathan bleeding from the head and beaten so bad that he had to be put on life support. Days later, Jonathan sadly died from his injuries, and his father hopes that this incident can be a talking point for youth violence in the city. And he also said that he plans to charge several of the students with murder in Jonathan's death. Rest in peace to this young hero, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
So this is all I got from the stitches. And first of all, I am going to say that I am going to condemn what happened. Like, I am not in support of what happened. What the kids did, totally uncalled for. I just do not understand how all of them gathered and, like, beat one person to coma. It is a very horrible incident. And people shouldn't be caught doing some certain things. And I think it's time parents should also sit down with their kids and speak to them about some certain things and repercussions. I mean, after effect of your actions. Now, let me start by saying that, have they been doing this to Black people? Of course, yes. They have been doing it to Black people. But when a Black person, if you do something, it is different from a pop-colored person doing something. I have seen where a Black person was drowned or attempted to drown, and still even where they shot a Black child and they were all released on bond and all that. But being a Black child is different. I am not trying to defend anything, but I am trying to tell you, being a Black child is different. Your case is different. Your life is different. Everything about you is different. And as it stands, according to the last source that I read before talking about this, it says that they will be treated as adults. This case will be treated as an adult case. And they are not going to treat them like kids because of murder. It is time parents sit down with their kids and speak to them. Tell them about their actions. Tell them that they shouldn't be caught up in some certain things. Now, they said 15 persons, right? Trust me, about 15 boys are going, like about 15 families are going to be affected by this. I hope we understand that. And then I see everybody calling out, all these Black people calling out, let this happen to Black people. Black people are thieves. Those people are just people that do not like Black people from the onset. Some of them do not identify as Black. They identify as white people. Right? And if they are calling for march, or protest, Black people cannot protest for you for what happened to you as a pump-colored person. If something happens to you, you all can gather yourselves and move to the street and march. Do not expect Black people to come and also fight for you when something happens to you. Black people only fight for themselves or other people they feel like coming out to defend. So do not drag Black people into this. But what I am saying is what happened is it is a very horrible thing. And what can I say? Now they are going to face the consequences of what they did, which may affect them for the rest of their lives. And some people were saying hate crime somewhere, like it is not a hate crime. It is murder. It is no hate crime. Because it's beyond hate crime. Please, can we sit down with our kids and talk to them about some certain things, about how they shouldn't jump into everything they see. Sometimes you have to apply wisdom, use your, be smart about some certain things. Have they been doing, like, you all understand where I am coming from. They've been doing this to black people from like, since the beginning of the world. But black people will not get away with doing something to a palm-colored person. But they will get away with doing something to a black person. That is the right decision we've been screaming all about. I am condemning what this case did totally, but I am trying to make us understand. This is all I got. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.